So after a good while, I think it's finally time for me to come back and make an actual video. Guess who remembered they have a YouTube channel, right? So we just had the balance patch released like yesterday for me. I don't know when it is for you, but yeah, we just picked up a balance patch, and of course the I think the main deck that's getting a lot of attention right now after the balance patch is Machina Rune. So I will be going over my Machina Rune list that I've been trying out. This is just the list I threw together. It's definitely not optimized or anything. But yeah, this is the list that we'll be playing today. If you are not interested in the deck list, you just want to go in the gameplay, you can just go ahead and skip. The timestamp should be on the seek bar thing because of chapters, but if I remember to do it correctly at least. And but if you want to hear more about the deck list, we can go ahead and talk about that. So the main things that happened for the balance patch is of course that two of the cards in this deck receive buffs. First of all, Tetra is buffed to 3 cost. We'll go into detail about Tetra's buff later because it's very important. But the other thing we have is a buff to Arts of Trust here. Mainly, it helps you clear board either as part of survivability for your early game or to help you hit face with the Tetra cannons, what they call Azure Blasts. Yeah, nice little buff here. It's not like super impactful or anything, although it is pretty useful. Also worth noting, the buffs do get affected by this spell's effect does get affected by Amaryllis because it's a leader effect. But yeah, let's talk about the main star of the show here, which is Tetra's buff. So Tetra costs 3 now, and if you've played the version from before the buffs, like early on in the expansion, you might have noticed that there were huge consistency issues with the deck. So when I saw the Tetra was getting buffed to 3 PP, I didn't expect it to be this impactful, but I just didn't think about it that much. So for why this buff seems to be so impactful, at least from my point of view, I think, is that by making Tetra cost 3 instead of 4, that means that after Tech Wizards enhance 5 that discounts all your Machina cards, and her ability to refund 2 play points, so she becomes an effective 0 play point card now instead of 1, and the difference between 0 and 1 is very huge for setting up OTKs, because generally for your OTK you need like to play 2 or 3 copies of Tetra. Usually 2 copies of Tetra is required for your OTK, so having to spend 2 play points on her was a bit slow, and now we have to spend 0 play points for her, which means that you can potentially bring your OTKs like 2 turns earlier. In actuality, turn 6 OTK is definitely quite realistic now for this version of the deck, so that's probably why it's so strong now. Worth noting though is that the only thing it did get buffed is the speed and consistency. In terms of consistency, because your OTK is fast now, you can just go all in on consistency to try and just get OTK as fast as possible instead of running like more survival engine cards and card draw like the awakened robot, as well as the other card, the 2 cost one that gave you damage shield. We can just toss all of those and go all in for consistency, which is why we are more slim on Machina cards now. We have Rocket Broom Witch. Rocket Broom Witch is still very strong, so we definitely still run her. However, Speedster can draw you more Machina cards, so it's fine to run her. Tech Wizard is a key part of the combo for most of the deck. Tetra cost 3 now, so I mean, we're obviously gonna run Tetra. This one also draws Machina cards, so we definitely want to run this. And yeah, that's all the Machina cards we run to maximize consistency. We don't even run Technolore or anything. This setup will maximize the consistency of finding Tetra and Tech Wizard. Our main key cards now become Tech Wizard and Tetra. Ginger is of course still run, but it's not as important anymore. Our main OTK generally rely on 2 copies of Tetra, discounted by Tech Wizard alongside Amaryllis, and for that reason we also run Linecraft Academy to draw Amaryllis. Linecraft will also buff Amaryllis so she doesn't die to her own spell effect if you play the spell, and also Linecraft can help you discount Ginger. So that is the list that I am playing here. We only have the buffs. Keep in mind the buffs only affect the speed of the OTK. It only makes it fast. It has no effect on your survivability or anything. So once again, the weaknesses of the deck against aggressive gameplay is still there. So you definitely have to watch out for that. But yeah, it's definitely very, very fast now and much more consistent because we're able to run such a streamlined list. and we have much less reliance on gingers for OTK than we were before. So yeah, I think that's enough talking about the list and the buffs. Let's just jump into some gameplay. So for our first game, we start off with a game against Dragon here, and we are going second. We're gonna start off with a more textbook, I guess more high rolly style game, just to get you familiar with what this deck is capable of before we start looking at alternative play patterns here. So for the mulligan, we definitely want to keep Tetra. Other than Tetra, I like to keep the Tech Wizard, and I also like to keep cards that draw Machina cards like Iolan and the Hoverboard Speedster, and that's mostly it for mulligan. I think you can of course do different things if you want to. That's just how I like the mulligan, because I think Tech Wizard and Tetra are the most important pickups, and Amaryllis is generally not that hard to draw. It's not as important either, because worst case you can still win with 3 Tetras. Although if you look at Ginger in your opening hand, I think it's worth keeping the Ginger anyway. Yeah, so for early game here, generally for the early game, we want to assemble Tech Wizard, 2 copies of Tetra, Amaryllis, and then 2 1 cost, or rather we just need 1 cost Machina card. So that's our main goal for the OTK. So you'll see our opponents just playing just some Natura Dragon here, which is fine for us. We're gonna go ahead and play the Lane Crest now and pick up the Amaryllis here. Not really any reason to play any cards, so we just go ahead and pass here. So we return the reason we didn't play Connected Hearts, of course, is because we can use this for the full effect next turn. In case they summon followers, we need the droids to answer. In this case, normally it's very easy to just dump the recovery here because it's not an impactful spell, but the fact that it's our only 1 cost Machina in our hand right now means that it's worth keeping, and you will see why in a bit. But for now, we go ahead and fuse the extra Tech Wizard. We don't need any more than 1. And we're gonna go ahead and play the Connecting Hearts here, try and find a second copy of Tetra. We pick up the second copy of Tetra here, as well as a Rocket Broom, so we are basically set up for OTK at this point. We have everything we need. So we can go ahead and play the Hoverboard Speedster here as well, just to draw through our deck. I guess not really any reason to or not do it. I guess it's worth playing to discount Arts of Trust in case we need to use it to clear board at some point. So there's the Valdane from our opponent, which is going to go ahead and clear our board, and the Shadow's Rejection from them as well, which is fine. Our opponent is actually pretty slow on the trees. It doesn't really matter how fast they were, they're dead like in 2 turns anyway. So here is when we can set up our lethal here. So we go ahead and play the Tech Wizard. Yeah, this is generally the bottleneck turn for this deck. So if you're playing against Machina as well, you need to try to watch out for this bottleneck turn so that you can try to punish them for it. The Tech Wizard turn is very weak. If you can force them to play other Machina cards or other cards discounted by Tech Wizard, there's a higher chance you can dodge OTK, so it's worth trying to apply pressure on this turn, I think. So go ahead and use the assembly droid here. We only need to the important pattern, or rather I guess the combo you look out for is 2 copies of 2 cost Tetras, 2 0 cost Machina cards, and Amaryllis, and that's a turn 6 OTK assemble. So we have everything we need, so we can go ahead and use this Rocket Broom Witch to clear the Valdane. Reducing our reliance on Rocket Broom, which ensures we have enough board space, although it's not really a problem in this case, but it's just worth noting. So that's the roll out from the opponent. Gonna go ahead and clear our Tech Wizard, I guess, and hit them in the face, but it's too late, so they are dead here. So this is the standard OTK. We start with Amaryllis here. Go ahead and evolve the Amaryllis, which will well, activate her effect. Then we can, although it's not necessary now, we can use Arts of Trust here to set up so that every time we play a Machina card, it will help clear board. This is more useful if they have wider boards. Also keep in mind that the Tetra can be used to trade as well, which will come up later on. So, yeah, because of the necessity of having 2 0 cost Machina cards for the turn 6 OTK, we try to keep like 1 copy of Recovery, or if you try to keep 1 copy of Recovery if you don't have a replacement 1 cost Machina that can be discounted by Tech Wizard to cost 0. So yeah, that's the whole thing. So make sure to play your 0 cost Machina cards first to avoid accidentally PP locking yourself by playing cards in the wrong order. We go ahead and play the Recovery here, pick up the Azure Blast, and the Azure Blast will go ahead and do 12 damage, pick up another one, and that's it for this. So this is the textbook high roll. Let's move on to next game. So for our next game, we have against Blood. We are going second again. Wrath Blood didn't get nerfed, so it's still the same deck as ever. We're just gonna look for our combo pieces here. Not a bad. Oh yeah, I probably forgot to mention last game, but Connected Hearts is also worth keeping in the mulligan if you open it. One copy though, like if you can open too many copies, it just breaks your early game, right? So we're just gonna start with Ruins of Ireland here, I guess. Standard. We pick up the Attack Wizard, which is good. So that's the Blood Pack, so we can confirm that this is Wrath. We just go ahead and pick out the Recovery here, pick out another Ruins. We go ahead and play the Ruins here. There is the option of playing Hoverboard as well, but I think it's fine. Let's go ahead and play the Recovery as well. We're gonna get another one here anyway, and we'll just keep manage our hand size so we don't overdraw. Just like overdraws very often, so you do need to watch out for that. And there's the Elena. So we do have to watch out for Urias now. In this case, we just set up a way to deal with early aggro with the Amaryllis here. We can pick up another Amaryllis with Link Crest anyway, so we're not that concerned about it. And there's the Demon of the Keys from them. And a Weapon Tamer. This puts them at 6, so they're not quite in Wrath yet, so I guess it's a bit of a low roll for them, which is good for us. This turn is pretty difficult, but we fuse the Hoverboard Speedster, and the reason why is because the recovery is important for setting up OTK. Against Wrath, we do need the OTK as fast as possible to avoid getting rolled. The power spike they get after entering Wrath from like turn 5 or 6 onwards is very huge, so we try to kill them before we get hit by too much. So we try to just draw Tetra off the Connected Hearts here. There is also a chance that we just draw Hoverboard Speedster off the Connected Hearts anyway, so I think it's fine to just fuse Hoverboard Speedster here. And we do pick up the Tetra as well here, so we're just gonna go ahead and play the Lane Crest now just to set up our OTK. So again, we've assembled the necessary pieces with the Tech Wizard, Tetra, Amaryllis, and a Recovery. This looks like a high roll. It is a bit high rolly, but it's also not that inconsistent either, so it's maybe like a fourth of your games you manage to get this off, like maybe 1/3 or 1/4, I think. For now, that's how it feels like to me. So my opponent is in Wrath now, they're very low. So at this point, I think it's necessary to mention Tetra, you can manual evil her as well. That is also an option. If you manual evil her, you can get Azure Blast earlier. Unfortunately, for the way Tetra is designed as a card, there actually isn't a way to get there isn't really a way to play Azure Blast on turn 5. So even though my opponent's very low here, there's not really any way for me to get Azure Blast and cheese out a lethal. Let's say if they were at 8 health here, there isn't actually a way to cheese out Azure Blast on turn 5 unless she survives from turn 4. Because that's the big difference Tech Wizard makes, which is why Tech Wizard is so necessary for the old lethal. So although they are very low here, we don't have lethal here. So we go ahead and play the Tech Wizard here, then use it to clear the Urias as well. We can, and then the Amaryllis will clear that. Even if Amaryllis didn't clear that, we definitely want to save these cards for Tetra, even though it's not necessary because they're gonna die anyway. But if they like play Chimera to heal here, for example, which they didn't for some reason, yeah, they just kept themselves at 10. So we only need 1 Tetra here, so we just like we don't go for the overkill there. Yeah, this is a pretty clean lethal as well, I guess. It's also like a pretty high rolling game. I guess they didn't draw super well, but this is fast enough that definitely, unless they super high roll, you can definitely still finish Wrath fast enough to win against them. So honestly, this might be on even footing or maybe ahead of Wrath, but we shall see when people develop decks more. So yeah, that's the Azure Blast lethal. Let's move on to one more game. So for our next game, we are going against Portal, and we are going first here. Portal has as much variety as ever in terms of decks. Here I kept Lane Crest, but I was trying out Lane Crest Keep in the mulligan. Right now I'm not really sold on it, but I was testing it out here, so that's why I kept the Lane Crest there. And then they greeted us, so we go ahead and greet them back, just to be polite, I guess. So once again, same game plan as always. This deck has like one game plan. It's basically a solitaire deck, honestly. You just go for your game plan. It doesn't really matter that much what your opponent does. I played Lane Crest here first. The reason why I played Lane Crest here first is in case they played something like the Holy Biker, I would probably need to use Amaryllis and her spell to clear it because I don't want to take too much damage. We don't have that much healing in this deck, so we have to watch out for the damage we take. But my opponent plays a slower turn here with the Ines and the Retrafia, so for this turn I think I don't need the Amaryllis, so I can go ahead and play Hoverboard Speedster. We play the Ruins of Ireland here first. I don't really think that order matters. Maybe it matters in some kind of way, but none that I know of, I guess. So there's the Lazuli from them. Technically they trade the Lazuli as well, so now their whole board is at 1, so we can go ahead and use the Amaryllis to here a bit risky to use the Amaryllis to clear because we don't have a second copy, and Artifact is definitely one of the decks that can just clear Amaryllis, but we really don't want to take the damage off the Lazuli here, so we have no choice but to clear it there. And there's the Aegil, so they do have Aegil. A newly buffed Aegil now costs 1, which means that they're able to pop off from turn 4 or 5 on their Evo turn instead of having to wait for the next turn like it did in the past. So yeah, Artifact is like 1 turn faster now, which is worth noting. In this case, we are fine. They go a bit wide here. We don't really have any problems. There's the Laser Tyranny, which will hit our Amaryllis. Doesn't clear it yet though, so that's fine for us. We draw here, pick up the Ginger. Unfortunately, we do have the option of playing Tank Wizard here, but there's like actually just not much reason to, because I mean we're just discounting this one Tetra, right? We'd rather spend this time doing something else. So we go ahead and clear the board here just to buy ourselves time to try and draw key cards, as well as a spell boost the Fate's Hand. From that we pick up the Connected Hearts here. So here, actually not really well there. I guess that we need to clear this. Although, yeah. So go ahead and evolve the Amaryllis here, which will increase the AoE. We did pick up the Tetra as well, so we are one step closer to the lethal. And then we pick up the Recovery as well. So with Tank Wizard, we can actually go for a lethal if we find... Unfortunately, we don't have Amaryllis, or we do have Amaryllis, but if they clear it, then we can't go for a turn 7 lethal here with the 2 Tetras and the Tank Wizard here. Yeah, the Tech Wizard here is a huge bottleneck for your lethal turns because it costs so much. It basically takes up the whole turn itself, but it's very hard to get lethals without it. So our Amaryllis Lethals is great for us. We're gonna go ahead and clear this board with Arts of Trust here and the Tech Wizard. We have another copy of Arts of Trust anyway, so we can go ahead and we can use that to clear whatever board they build up next turn. And then just to make sure we don't die, we're gonna go ahead and play the Hoverboard Speedster and use this Evolve effect to heal. Happen to pick up Tetra as well, so now we have lethal even if Amaryllis doesn't survive this turn, which it's not that likely that Amaryllis survives because Artifact has ways to clear it. Depends on what they do here. So we pick up the Spinara's Artifact here. We're gonna use that to draw. And there's the Mecha Rhino here, which is gonna take damage here. It's fine. Carnelia as well. Radiant Artifact. It's worth noting that against Artifact, the Avamia's damage shield doesn't actually affect us in any way because our main lethal patterns is either Amaryllis with 2 Delta Cannons, which is 24 damage. Even with damage shield, it's still 21 damage, which is lethal. Our alternative is a triple Tetra, which we will see in a moment here, but with 3 Delta Cannons. So that will be 3 Delta Cannons will be 24 damage as well, but damage shield will only block 2 damage, so that will still be 22, which is still lethal. So yeah, we're fine here. They're gonna go ahead and play the Rhino here, hit us in the face, and there's the Laser Tyranny, so they do clear our Amaryllis here, so maybe our opponent's feeling safe, but thanks to drawing the extra Tetra last turn, we do have lethal here. So in terms of doing Tetra math, my recommendation is this. You count the number of Tetras you have first. I mean the amount of Tetras you want to play here. So in this case, we want to play 3 Tetras. Then we have to count how much PP the Tetras are worth. So this is an effective 0 cost card. It's a 2 cost that refunds 2. This is a 2 cost that refunds 2. This is a 1 cost. So this Tetra will cost 1. These will cost 0. So we have 1 PP cost to play our 3 Tetras. And then next we count how many Delta Cannons we need. So in this case, we don't have Amaryllis, so we will need 3 Delta Cannons, which is 6 PP. So that's our 7 PP with 1 Tetra and 3 Delta Cannons. So the next thing final thing we need to decide is if we have the ability to get Delta Cannon from the Tetra. As long as generally speaking, it depends a bit on the order of cards you played, but generally speaking, as long as your first Tetra gets a Delta Cannon, the rest will get Delta Cannon off the first Tetra's Delta Cannon. So because of the way the combo works is you play the 3 Tetras in succession. So after your first Tetra gives you a Delta Cannon, playing the Azure Blast. After the first Tetra gives you Azure Blast, that Tetra's Azure Blast will cause the next copy of Tetra to give you Azure Blast, and it continues like that. So as long as your first Tetra can get Azure Blast, you are fine. So you just have to count. So Tetra needs to play 4 cards to get Azure Blast. So 1, 2, and then we have 2 0 cost Machina cards. So that will give us Azure Blast. So we do have lethal here, so we have to go for that. So go ahead and play the Tetra here. Use the Arts of Trust to clear the board because their board is a bit large. And there's Tetra again. And then we can go ahead and play the other Tetra as well. Now we just have to clear the board, which is fine because Tetra can also trade the decently big body at 5/5, so you can use her to trade into enemies as well. So go ahead and play the Assembly Droid here. Of course, we can definitely clear this board is pretty easy for us to clear, so yeah, that's it. We go ahead and trade here, the recovery, and that will give us the Azure Blast here, so we can just play Azure Blast, which will give us Azure Blast, and then we can play that, which will give us Azure Blast. So yeah, just take some practice to count the turns, but you can definitely do it. So yeah, that's it for this game. So that's it for this video and all the games I have for you here today. You can see definitely a much more powerful deck than it was before. The major points of note is of course the acceleration of OTKs. You can OTK on turn 6 like fairly easily right now. And the other main point is that because we're no longer relying on Ginger at all, like you saw this game we didn't even use Ginger once. For this video, that's how Ginger is more or less relegated to a support card than an actual combo card piece at this point. So because of the lack of reliance on Ginger, the deck is significantly more consistent because Tetra has ways to search her because of all the Machina searches, while Ginger has absolutely no way to tutor her. So yeah, those are probably the main points that contribute to why Machina Rune is climbing up to a high tier deck right now. So definitely take some practice to play. I don't think this list is optimized either. You can probably run better lists out there. So yeah, if you like this archetype, it's a pretty fun archetype. You can definitely give it a try, give it a lot of practice, and learn how to play the deck, because if you can learn how to play this deck, it's a very strong deck. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Hopefully I get to show, I'll be showing off more lists now that we have a balance patch to like shake things up, I guess. So yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.